The Kingdom of Mars. Chapter 1. The Breath Beneath the Dust. At first, Mars was the only sound in their helmets. Wind scratching over rock, dust trickling on composite polymers, the faint hiss of the suit's life support system. Captain David Mercer led the line across the rusted plain. 4 men in white walking through a world that did its best to be dead. "Hab pressure is holding," came Ortiz's voice over the comm. "If we are lucky, the storm gives us a whole 8 hours before it gets ugly again." "Copy," Mercer said. "Science team, how far from the anomaly?" Dr. Lucas Habel, their geologist, checked in his wrist slate. "Another 800 meters. Whatever's venting those trace gases is just ahead on that rise." The anomaly had shown up 3 sols ago, a thin, stubborn line of elevated oxygen and methane. Not enough to be dangerous, but enough to be impossible. It didn't match any known chemical weathering model. No simple ultraviolet breakdown, no buried ice exposure. Something was breathing under Mars. They crested the rise. Below them, the land fell into a jagged scar. A narrow canyon whose walls glinted dark, not familiar red rust, but basalt black and glassy. At its center, half buried in shadow, was a vertical plane of stone, far too smooth to be natural. Mercer's heartbeat ticked louder in his ears. "Please tell me I'm not the only one seeing right angles," said Jenkins, the engineer. "You're not," Mercer answered quietly. "Ortiz, Habel, with me. Jenkins, you're on the perimeter. If anything about your gut feels wrong, I want to hear it." They picked their way down the slope, boots sliding on a scree until a smooth plane resolved into a door. It was set into the basalt like a tooth, a carved arch of dark stone, ringed with metal that had once been polished, now dulled by ages of dust. The middle was a strange alloy. Its surface showed a faint green and gold iridescent under the suit's lights. At chest height, near the center, was a seal, a circle split in half. One side etched with a tangled tree-like lines, the other with branching lightning. Mercer raised a gloved hand and brushed away loose dust and stone. The alloy didn't corrode, it didn't flake, it rang very softly under his knuckles. "Recording 100%, Ortiz said, breathless. "This can't be our first mission here, not anymore. Somebody had got here before us. Or something," Habel murmured. Chapter 2. The Door That Should Not Be. Jenkins cut in. "Captain, ambient pressure in the canyon is normal for surface, 6 millibars. But right up against the door, I'm seeing a tiny gradient, like it's pushing." "Pushing from the inside?" Mercer asked. "Yeah, like there's a higher pressure behind it." Mercer stared at the door another few seconds, pulse thrumping in his ears. Ortiz knelt, extending the sample wand along the seam where the stone met stone. Data flowed into his visor. "Trace oxygen, nitrogen, and some hydrogen too. But it's not leaking fast. Whatever's back there is sealed very tight." "Jenkins," Mercer said, "what's the fastest way to test that seal without blowing it?" Jenkins gave a low whistle. "Do you want me to drill it?" "I want to know what's on the other side," Mercer said. "But we do it right. We rig a microbore, set a pressure sensor. We stop if that needle twitches wrong." "Roger that. I'll send for the auto drill." The auto drill whined a thin mosquito-like buzz through the rock. They mounted it at shoulder height, just inside the arch, anchored with clamped feet under Jenkins' careful control. A diamond head no wider than a pencil point began to eat its way through ancient stone. In the video feed overlay, a second gauge hovered, outside pressure versus internal. Outside, 0.006 atmosphere. Inside, unknown. The minute scrolled by. "A depth of 5 centimeters, Jenkins reported. 10, 15. I'm hitting metal. Some alloy at the ring. Pushing through. 20, 25. The inner gauge flickered and then came alive. Inside pressure at... oh hell. 1.02 atmospheres. Oxygen, 22%. Nitrogen, 75 traces of CO2, argon. Humidity, 40%. Captain, that's Earth normal, slightly rich in oxygen. Seal integrity, Mercer asked. The hole is still smaller than a pin. The rock is holding, but we've got a pressure lock whether we like it or not. Kaad-Vaal exhaled slowly. There's a room behind that door where you could walk with your visor open. Not yet, Mercer said. We're not treating this like some ancient tomb. We treat it like a habitat with living ecosystems. There could be microbes. There could be more. More what? Jenkins asked. His voice tried to sound amused, but there was a strain behind it. Life, Ortez said quietly. It took 2 souls to get the proper gear hauled from the lander. An inflatable tunnel segments, a portable airlock ring, additional sensors. On Mars, even Curiosity had to obey precedence and procedure. They attached the inflatable tunnel to the arch, sealing it with a flexible collar against an alien metal, with foam that hardened into a pressure-tight gasket. The tiny microbore remained their only opening into the mystery. When everything was double-checked, they sent the remote crawler, squat rover, with camera eyes and jointed arms. It shuffled through the tunnel, all the way up to the door, cables tethering it to the outside. Jenkins guided its manipulator towards the ancient alloy. Okay, little guy. Let's see how you handle a big door. There was no obvious mechanism. No hinges, no locks. Just that circular seal in the middle. The crawler's arm pressed against it. Nothing. Try rotating, Mercer said. The crawler hooked its grasper around a small ridge on the seal and twisted. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sound that shook dust from the canyon walls, the ring turned. The entire door shuddered. Fine red dust cascaded from the arch. A deep, slow, grinding noise echoed through everyone's helmets. Pressure differential holding, Mercer snapped. Climbing, Ortiz said. The door's flexing but not failing. There's a second barrier behind it. I'm reading another solid echo. Whatever's in there, it's behind more than one layer. The stone slab moved inward a fraction and then stopped with a dull thud. The inside gauge remained steady. No catastrophic outflow. This first door was a shell, not the hull. There was another door waiting deeper inside. Mercer stared at the half-open gap. Darkness stared back, thick and absolute. All right, he said. We got a vestibule. First door open, second door still closed. We pressurize the tunnel, we walk into the vestibule with suits on, and we see if anything knocks back. Chapter 3. Lantern Light and Shadows. Nobody laughed. Inside the vestibule, the air was stale, cold, but breathable by every metric that mattered. The suit's external mics captured the soft hiss of gas equalizing through the microscopic cracks, the tick of cooling stone. Lights from their helmets painted the chamber, a cylindrical room maybe 5 meters deep. Floor and ceiling both smooth, the walls covered with shallow reliefs. Kaad-Vaal moved closer, the suit lights whining softly. Look at this. The reliefs showed trees with wide flat leaves and thick trunks. Animals ran beneath them. Some with too many legs, some with none. In one panel, bipedal creatures with long limbs reached toward the sky, with 2 circles, one dark, one ringed, with lines like rays. Ortiz's voice trembled. Is that Earth and Mars? Jenkins pointed. Those figures look like people. They did and they didn't. Their proportions were wrong. Torsos were a bit longer, arms slightly bowed. Skulls were elongated with sweeping brows. Hominids that had never walked the museum floor. Camera footage is clean, Ortiz mumbled. We're broadcasting all this back into orbit. Control is gonna lose their minds. Focus, Mercer said. He swallowed, his throat dry. This one was metal, not stone. The same alloy ringed its edges. The same split circle seal gleamed faintly in their lights. Mercer moved closer, then froze. The seal was turning on its own. A low chunk rolled through the chamber, then a series of smaller clicks, like enormous clockwork catchings. The door vibrated, bowed inward, and slowly began to open. "Havel, back!" Mercer hissed. They all moved away, forming a loose semicircle, helmet lights covering the widening gap. From beyond came a rush of warmer air, carrying smells the suits struggled to identify. A mineral tang, dampness, almost an organic musk, and something smoky. And then light. Not LEDs, not fluorescent strips, but softer, a yellower glow, like dozens of lanterns burning from behind frosted glass. Silhouetted against that glow, figures appeared. They were shorter than the astronauts, broad-shouldered and thick-limbed. Their clothing was layered and functional. Heavy, woven fabrics, leather harnesses, bits of metal bucked and riveted. Some wore long coats, others sleeveless jerkins and bracers. Every one of them held something resembling a weapon. Their faces were human, and yet not human. The brow ridges were prominent, cheekbones were sharp, jaws were strong. Their eyes set deep and dark and squinted against the glare of the helmet's lights. For a long moment, nobody moved. Mercer slowly raised his empty hands, palms out. "We come in peace," he said, knowing that his words were useless. The nearest figure flinched at his voice, eyes widening. He barked something, a short, harsh burst of syllables. The suit translated, unknown, no match. Another stepped forward, older. Streaks of pale braided hair, a mantle clasped with a metal tree. His eyes darted over the suits with terror. He spoke in a strange, clustered consonants and stretched vowels. The suits struggled to decipher. Tone demanding. Edgar, fear. Mercer tapped his chest. "We are from another world," and he pointed upward. Several recoiled. Something whispered, "Va is?" Possible gloss? Spirits? "Not ghosts," Mercer said quietly. "Men." He pointed at them. "Men." The older man repeated it shakily. "Mink. Mink." Havel murmured privately. "They're scared out of their minds." Ortiz added, "We just opened the sky and walked through it." Chapter 4. Kaad-Vaal, the Hidden Kingdom. They were disarmed first. The moment the initial shock receded enough for action. The men from the cavern surged forward, their weapons raised. Mercer held his ground, but Jenkins took a half step back. A metal rifle barrel jabbed against his chest plate. Mercer raised a hand slowly. "Easy," he said. The guard wrapped Jenkins' visor hard. The suit flashed impact warnings. "They want us to move," Ortiz said. "Back or in?" The older man pointed inward, toward a warm-lit corridor. Then a sliced hand towards the outer door. His voice shook, words tagged by the suit as seal, skywind, death cold. "Inside," Mercer said. "They want the seal closed." He stepped forward, let himself be herded. The vestibule door slammed behind them with a thunderous clang. The corridor opened into a wide terrace. Then they saw the impossible. Below them stretched a cavern city lit by hundreds of glowing lanterns. Slope-roof buildings. Towering mills driven by chains instead of water. Walkways of stone and timber. Pipes threading in and out of carved walls. Smoke curled upward into high vents. Workers stopped mid-step, staring at the white-suited strangers. Mothers pulled children close. Men with aprons and soot-stained hands made warning gestures. Communication attempts were terrified and frantic, and the guards forced him down the terrace steps through narrow streets until they reached the great hall. Inside, stone pillars rose like tree trunks. A single heavy chair stood at the far end. On it sat a man, their leader. He stood as they entered, tall, broad, wrapped in a heavy mantle clasped with a spirit circle, the same symbol on the ancient door. He descended the steps. Mercer felt every eye in the cavern on them. The man placed a hand on his chest. Rhaegat, Rhaegat, he said. His voice carried like a command. He gestured around the hall. Rhaegat of Kaad-Vaal. The suit identified a weak conglomerate, ruler or commander. Mercer mirrored the gesture with his hand to his chest, saying his name, Mercer. Rhaegat reached forward suddenly and pressed his palm against Mercer's chest plate, feeling its hardness, its seams, its shape. He then tapped it with his knuckles. He whispered a single word, Sky Iron. The whole hall murmured, Sky Iron, Sky Iron. Fear was still there, but now it's threaded with awe. Chapter 5. Rhaegat, Commander of the Deep Sky. Communication was not a bridge, it was a swamp. For hours that stretched into days, the astronauts were confined to the chamber near the Great Hall. Always under guard, men and women with chalk tablets questioning them, pointing at objects, repeating words. The suits recorded everything, and slowly the linguistic software began forming patterns. Ortez whispered translations, some right, most were guesses. The guards remained tense, their rifles primitive flintlock-style weapons with rifled barrels, never pointed away for very long. Any small motion by the astronauts sent those barrels snapping up. Their first attempt to show a simple star map nearly caused a riot. One scribe fainted. Another ran screaming, shouting, word that tagged as witchcraft. They think they're spirits or gods, Hubble whispered. Or demons, Jenkins answered. Each day the same pattern repeated. Fear, awe, confusion, tension. Eventually Rhaegat himself entered. He dismissed the guards with a gesture, reluctantly obeying and sat across from Mercer at the stone table. He tapped the table map, scratched into its surface. Tunnels, caverns, vent shafts, reservoirs. Not land, not sea, survival. Rhaegat spoke in halting, slow syllables. The suit translated fragments, worth, measured by what is saved. He tapped the icons representing water, breath, seed, stones. A leader who spreads wrong dies, he said. Mercer nodded. Survival first. Rhaegat frowned at the foreign word. He nodded with a heavy understanding. Survival. He tried to mimic it. Survival. He studied Mercer's faceplate's reflection. You come from above, he said. From world we lost. Mercer hesitated, then answered carefully. From another world above. Another world far away. Rhaegat absorbed that slowly. His expression tightened. More mimic? More people? Yes, Mercer nodded. Many kingdoms, caverns. We thought we were alone. He pointed at Rhaegat. You, our cousins. The word hit Rhaegat like a thrown stone. He repeated with suspicion. Cousins? Yes, Mercer said. We share roots. Rhaegat rose and paced. You are strange, he said. Soft bones, pale skin, wrapped in sky iron. You walk where we choke. Yet your faces, he stopped, too like us, and not too like us. he exhaled sharply. Priests speak of omens. What you think, Mercer, he asked quietly. Rhaegat's jaw clenched. I think deep stone tests us. He gestured to the cavern ceiling. If we kill you, nothing changes. Breath grows thin. Harvest fungi die. The breathstone weakens each year. Kaad-Vaal ends soon. He turned back. You are challenged. I do not like you. My folk fear you. But deep stone echoes do not send skywalkers for no reason. Mercer swallowed. We can help. Help? Rhaegat echoed. Breath, fire, knowledge, stories. We can help you live longer. Rhaegat finally laughed, a soft, rough, humorless. More sons to shout out. More folks to curse my name. But it was not rejection. Chapter 6. Tongues of Stone and Storm. The next days were a blur of words, sketches, gestures, and misunderstandings. They were questioned constantly by scribes, stern men and women with chalk tablets who represented words until the shapes stuck. The astronauts learned the basics. Vaal, sky or above. Menach, people, us. Kaad, cavern city, hold fast. Menach, chosen folk, survivors. But the communications remained fragile, tentative, and easily broken. A single word or a wrong gesture could make the guards snap rifles into a ready position. A single glowing projection could cause panic. Once Jenkins touched towards his pouch, instant chaos. 3 rifles jammed into our visors before he froze. Mercer raised both hands. No weapon, no lightning stick. He mimed, setting something down. Slowly, painfully, the rifles lowered. Their captors' weapons were clever but primitive. Flintlock-derived black powder rifles with clockwork-like springs and hammered steel. Habel murmured, late 1700s tech, exactly. To the Kaad-Vaal folk, the suits were terrifying magic. Helmets, lamps with caged suns. Mimics were whispered caught in metal. Visors were mirrorless faces. Pressure seals were breathing traps. And worst of all, any sign of radiant light. A simple star map inside a helmet caused the scribe to faint outright. Yet slowly, painfully, they learned. Shared words grew from a handful to dozens. Small talk became possible. Fear faded cautiously. Caution to uneasy curiosity. One evening, Valar, the first commander, joined them. He carried a book of carved wood sheets bound with leather cords. Figures and symbols were deeply etched into it. He sat cross-legged, opened the book, and told the story. The suits translated the fragments they could. When the sky trees burned, when the ground sea opened, a bright river came from below and from above. The bright river took the first folk, beast, and the green world. Mercer felt chills. Ortiz whispered he's describing the reactor event. Not the reactor event, many periodic across deep time. Valar continued. Above wind stole the beneath. Deep stone made new breath. First commander led the folk below. The linguistics engine of the suits provided a shaky translation. Lifted from world, placed in red world, found beneath in stone. Habel leaned forward. Listen. They remember being moved here. The myths, preservation, a literal space-time displacement. Mercer exhaled. So their ancestors didn't originate on Mars. Habel. No, they were scooped from Earth or another world of hominids and dropped here millions of years ago. By what? Jenkins asked. Kaad-Vaal tapped his slate. A quantum entangled natural reactors. When conditions align, they transfer life. Mercer stared at the carved symbols, at the depiction of two worlds linked by jagged lightning paths. Bright River, he said quietly. A natural life spreader. Valar closed the book. He touched his chest. Thorough Manek, chosen folk, carried by Bright River. The astronauts exchanged looks. For the first time, they felt the same awe the Martians felt towards them. Chapter 7. The Bright River and the Stolen Worlds. They were taken deeper into the stone, past workshops humming with gear-driven machines, past fungal farms lit by oil lamps, past water cisterns guarded like treasure. Down, down, down into the breath of the world. Moisture gathered on their suits, warmed air. Pipes converged, thick, heavy, vibrating with quiet energy. At the center of a reinforced chamber, a wide shaft dropped into the darkness, except the darkness glowed. A faint pale shimmer danced deep below, as though lightning had been trapped in brine. Steam rose in thin curls. The air tasted metallic. Valar stepped forward, a mantle trembling with reverence. He spoke slowly, using shared words they had built. Stone River, sparks. Deep metal sleeps within watery ice. Sky fire woke it. Stone River makes it spit breath. Heavy breath falls down. Light breath rises. The suit translated the meaning clearly now. This is natural electrolysis. A geobattery spanning layers of metal-rich rock and underground ice. Kaad-Vaal stared into the glowing shaft. This is incredible, he whispered. Dissimilar metals, natural current radiating as catalyst? Even the cavern is alive because Mars built a battery. Mercer traced the pipes that ran outward. Upward pipes were carrying oxygen. Downward pipes were funneling hydrogen into roaring furnaces. Side pipes were feeding ventilating towers. This is their air supply, he said. Their entire civilization hangs on this. Valar gestured gravely. Deep stone gives breath. Deep stone gives fire. If we anger deep stone, he drew his finger across his throat, we all die. Rhaegat stood silently behind him, mantle rushing in the wind, rising warmth. We commanded, he said, but stone commands us. The astronauts understood. This wasn't superstition. This was engineering, desperate enough to become a religion. Kaad-Vaal stepped closer to the shaft's edge. The Bright River didn't just move their ancestors, he said. It gave them the planet where the natural electrolysis reactor could form. Mercer nodded slowly. It didn't transport random life, he said. It's transported life to places where it could survive. Ortiz stared at the shimmering glow. A universal life-spreading mechanism, he whispered? Every few eons? Across worlds? Across realities? Valar, not understanding the words, but sensing awe, quietly said, Bright River is bridge between worlds. Mercer replied softly, yes, a bridge. And the first time the Martians and the astronauts stood together, not in fear, but in shared wonder. Chapter 8. The Breathstone. They descended deeper still, guided by the blue-mantled engineers, whose hands were stained with oil and mineral dust. The tunnels narrowed, and then widened to another engineered chamber. This one lined with metal plates bolted into stone. Cables, braided copper, and silver alloys ran in careful patterns wrapped around ceramic posts. The air hummed. Rhaegat stood at the threshold, grave and silent. Valar bowed his head. The chamber was important, sacred even. At its heart, a shaft pulsed with a pale light. Not electric, not magical. The glow of natural high-energy discharge. The air tasted sharp, metallic, tinged with ozone. The engineer's women, the ones marked with blue sigils, stepped forward and pointed downward, explaining, a hard-earned and shared tongue. Stone river. Stone splits water, makes breath. Light breath rises, heavy breath burns. We catch all. Ortez whispered, she's describing the oxygen-hydrogen separation, like a poetry recital. Havel's eyes were wide. This is a natural, multi-layered electrochemical reactor. The glow is a coronal discharge across mineral plates. Oneness calculation. One quake, one contamination of the brine chamber, and their entire civilization dies. Valar emphasized that point with solemn gestures. If deep stone stops, no breath, no fire, no life. Mercer looked around at the machinery, at a careful reinforcement, at the hand-carved engineering. How long? Rhaegat answered. The suit now confident in translation. Many generations. Stone grows weaker, breath harder to make, each year less. Jenkins murmured, their entire world is running out of air. Rhaegat nodded grimly. We mend, we patch, we pray, but stone listens only to the deep. The engineer women gestured toward the shaft again. Stone fire woke long ago. Wakes again sometimes, when sky shakes, when deep roars. Mercer's eyes widen. Earthquakes re-trigger the reactor. Abel nodded, meaning the Bright River events could still happen. Ortez whispered, somewhere, on some world right now, life might be getting moved. Rhaegat, sensing awe, but not their meaning, stepped forward towards Mercer. Stone chose us. Bright River carry us. Deep stone keep us alive. The pale light shimmered upward through the chamber, and for a moment the astronauts felt like they were standing inside the beating heart of an ancient planet. Chapter 9. Sky Cold. The crisis hit without warning. A tremor rippled through Kaad-Vaal, subtle at first. Stone drifting dust, lanterns swaying. But these engineers felt it immediately. A deep gong boomed through the cavern. Workers shouted. Doors slammed. Children were rushed into lower tunnels. The word echoing everywhere was one the astronauts already knew. Sky cold! Sky cold! Mercer pulled up the suit readings, pressure dropping fast. Ortiz jabbed a finger at the map slate. Upper East Channel. One of the seals must have cracked. Jenkins was already running. If that leak reaches the main tunnel, it will vent half the atmosphere in minutes. Guards tried to block them. They raised their rifles. Mercer pushed through, shouting the words they had just practiced. We know Sky. We fix Sky. Let us help. Rhaegat himself appeared. Alarm etched deep in his face. Mercer showed him the passage and the pressure drop. The numbers were universal. Rhaegat barked a single order. Let them through. They sprinted up narrow stairs towards choking wind, toward the screaming leak. The damaged shaft was a nightmare. Then Martian air howled inward through jagged rock near the surface. It was cold enough to frost the stone. Engineers clung to pipes, trying desperately to plug the fissure with cloth and wooden wedges. The pressure ripped everything free. Jenkins dropped to his knees, pulled out an emergency sealant kit. Ortiz, heat gun, now! Valar and the two engineers grabbed Jenkins' suit to anchor him as if the wind was trying to tear him away itself. Jenkins slapped expanding polymer foam directly against the rock. It ballooned. It froze. It cracked. Again, Jenkins roared. Ortiz sprayed heat across next layer. The foam hardened into a rock-hard white solid. The escaping air dropped to a whistle, then to a hiss, and then to silence. Oxygen levels stabilized. Pressure readings climbed. Kaad-Vaal could breathe once again. Rhaegat staggered forward and touched the foam gently, and then turned towards the astronauts. His voice was hoarse. "You sealed the sky." Valor placed a fist over his chest. "Menek," he said. "People. You are people." The watching workers, men, women, soot-stained children, exhaled in a shaky awe. Not worship, not terror. Something new. Hope. Chapter 10. Cousins Across Aeons. The crisis changed everything. The fear Martians once felt toward the astronauts shifted. Subtly, deeply. They weren't spirits, they weren't omens, they were men. Men who sealed the sky. The language lessons intensified. Rhaegat wanted clearer communication. Valar wanted clearer records. The scribes wanted clearer understanding. Soon basic conversations were possible. Stone weakens each year. Farms fell if breath grows thin. Above wind still steals from us. Skywalkers know breath secrets. By evening, by lantern light, Rhaegat asked Mercer a question. The suits translated simply, "Are we same blood?" Mercer answered slowly, "Not the same, but not different. Cousins." Rhaegat's eyes narrowed. Many ages, bright river touched many worlds. Abel answered for Mercer, leaning forward. "Yes," he said, "we believe so." He pointed at a carved mural. "Two worlds joined by a jagged line. Your answers were from one world, ours from another time on the same world." Rhaegat considered this a long time, and then tapped his chest. "Menu Thanak, chosen people." He tapped Mercer's chest. "You, also chosen." Mercer shook his head gently. "Not chosen, just people like you." Rhaegat exhaled through his nose. A laugh, maybe, perhaps. "People," he replied, "but sky people." Valar added softly, "Stone carried us here, sky carried you. Same path, same river. No one corrected him." Chapter 11. The Message to Earth. Weeks passed. The language grew. Trust grew. The caverns felt less like a prison and more like a fragile ancient kingdom struggling to survive beneath the dying sky. Then the relay station to Mars in orbit received a compressed data burst. Images from Kaad-Vaal, relief carvings of the twin worlds, glowing breath stone shaft, the faces of the Martian monarch, and Mercer's voice calm but reverent. "We confirmed Havel's hypothesis. The natural reactors at Oklo on Earth and here and on Mars did more than just fission. They entangled across space-time. They moved life. They stitched worlds together." Dr. Mira Oklo in the Oklo Research Facility listened to that message with shaking hands. Mercer continued, "The people we've met are descendants of hominid lines carried here millions of years after the first formation. They built civilizations underground powered by natural electrolysis from deep metals and ice water." Mercer's tone softened. "They are not us, but they are related. Their children laugh like ours. Their elders carry wisdom like ours. They fear us because we are their future, walking around above them." He ended with that line that would later appear in textbooks. "Life may not have developed a single origin. The universe may spread it through natural machines. We might all be patchwork woven across aeons by physics itself." And the recording clicked off. And on Earth, the world changed. Chapter 12. The Elder Circle of Worlds. Far below the Martian surface, in the lantern-lit hall of Kaad-Vaal, life continued. Children gathered around an elder whose face was carved by time and soot. He drew circles on the stone floor with a charred stick. One circle for a green world, one for a red world, and many more for worlds yet unknown. The children leaned closer. The elder spoke in slow, steady words, mixing old tongue and the new words learned from the Skywalkers. Once, he said, the bright river took our mothers from a green world. He tapped the first circle. And brought them to the red world. He tapped the second circle. The above wind tried to kill us. The breathstone helped us live. We build in Kaads, in the deep stone. The children whispered one word together, Kaads. The elder smiled. He drew small figures wrapped in rectangles to represent the astronauts. Then came the Skywalkers from another above. They sealed the sky when it tried to steal our breath. He drew lines connecting the worlds. They say there are other folk, far above, are above. A child raised its hand. Are they cousins too? The elder nodded. Yes, cousins. People from many worlds. Stone carried some. Sky carried others. Bright river flows everywhere. He tapped the center circle. Kaad-Vaal. We are one kingdom among many. A lantern light flickered as if agreeing. Above them, the engineers checked a new foam seal. Below them, the breathstone pulsed, dividing the water into life and fire. Across the planet, the sealed surface door, strong against the .006 atmosphere vacuum. And the kingdom of Mars began to imagine a future it had never dared to dream. Chapter 12. Hope Under a Dying Sky. The work crews moved through the upper tunnels, checking every seal and brace. The memory of the sky-cold leak lived in everyone's nervous glance at the stone overhead. Jenkins' white foam patch gleamed starkly against a rough red wall. The engineers touched it as they passed, half inspection, half superstition. Deep below, the breathstone pulsed steadily, its glow patient, pale, washed against the metal plates and copper coils. Hydrogen roared through the furnaces. Oxygen drifted upward toward the city. The heartbeat of Kaad-Vaal continued. Mercer and Rhaegat stood together at the overlook above the great cavern. Lanterns shimmered below, like constellations trapped underground. Rhaegat spoke first. Skywalker Mercer? He paused, gathering his words. You're above many worlds. Mercer nodded. Many. Rhaegat exhaled, long and slow. Kaad-Vaal small. No, Mercer answered. Kaad-Vaal is the first. Rhaegat frowned. First? Mercer pointed upward. The first world we found where people survived without help from us. Rhaegat considered that. He nodded once. Stone carried us. Sky carries you. Now we walk together. Valor approached, mantle shifting softly. We learned from bright river. You learned from stars. We share learning now. Behind them, the children ran along the terraces. Their laughter echoed against the stone. New hope in every step. Mercer watched them. We return, he said softly. With tools, with knowledge, with breath machines, with truth. Rhaegat placed a heavy hand on Mercer's shoulder. We will be here, he said. We have always been here. Deep stone keeps us until you return. Above them, unseen but felt, the Martian sky hissed against the sealed door. .006 atmospheres, pressing weakly on the ancient stone. Below, Kaad-Vaal breathed, waited, hoped. This is the first time in countless generations the kingdom of Mars dreamed of more than survival. It dreamed of tomorrow.